Mujewale, Mujewale, Mujewale. My name is Bani Kivuka, and welcome to another episode of the Ugandan Boy Talk Show. Welcome once again to the Ugandan Boy Talk Show. And I've always told you that I'll be bringing different people on this podcast to talk about their lives, things they've been through. And I'm so excited to bring one of my good friends, Vinny. I call him Vinny, but he's going to tell us his real name. We went to school together. And what's up, Vinny?
What's up, my man? Hey, so my name is Vicente Vasquez, but everybody calls me Vinny.
Yeah,
That's what I go by, and that's what people just decided. The people just decided to change my name.
Did you get that
without
name?
even asking if it was okay or not.
Did you get that name from like college, or you had it before you came to college?
No, I got it during high school.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was actually when I used to hang out with all my friends. There was one night we just had a lot of fun, and we were laying down, and one of my friends said, "You know what? I'm gonna call you OG Vinny Vin." I said, "Man, that's too thuggish."
OG Vinny Vin.
So I was like, "Nah, man, let's just keep it a Vinny."
Yeah.
He's like, "All right," but I mean, he was like the only one that ever called me. He started calling me Vinny, and then everybody else started calling me Vinny. But that's where I got my name from.
Yeah, that's the name. I knew you were Vicente, but like I always call you Vinny. So man, how's been life? I don't think I've seen you since graduation. How have you been?
No, I've been great. Great. Just doing good. I got I'm working, and I'm blessed with health, and me and my wife are doing good. We got a new puppy.
I saw the picture today.
I saw the in addition to our family, and
I've always wanted to have a pet, but I mean, I wouldn't say I've always wanted because I'm not used to them. But I feel like now I'm used to it, and I want to have a pet. But our landlord doesn't allow us to have pets, so I'll wait till I get my own home, and then we can have like a pet. But yeah, man, I've not had a haircut for a whole year because you're the only one who was hooking me up.
Man, whenever you're ready, bro, I'm down here.
Yeah. I take long to come down there, but I mean, that sounds good to hear that the wife is doing good, because I was going to ask you how she's doing. And so I know you told me in school that you were planning to go back to college. Are you planning on going? Have you got a school yet?
I do plan on going back. I don't know if I want to go to Michigan State or if I want to go to Ferris University. Those are the two main ones that have been on my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's up in the air still, because this whole COVID situation.
Right.
It kind of I don't mind online, but I feel like I don't get my money's worth. And you got to get your money's worth.
Right.
When it comes down to your education, because it's not cheap, and you know that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. So mentioning about COVID, like how has this whole situation been for you? Because I know since COVID started, when we were at school, like everybody just started disappearing, leaving at a different time. And I remember I left you at school when I got my new job. I was like, hey man, I'm out. How has it been for you?
Man. Well, it's been a big transition. And just having to adjust to the new normal, and just having to wear a mask, and it became one of those things where when you get ready to go out, with the wife or something, and you're trying to go to a restaurant, you're trying to go out shopping or something, and you go outside and it's like, oh man, I forgot my keys, or then it's like, oh man, I forgot my wallet, and I was like, oh man, I forgot my mask. So it's just one of those things, that it's just one of those things that I tend to forget, my mask. So I now I try to keep a few clean ones in my car, and I rotate them, throw them in the dirty clothes, or wash them. But that's the big changes for me as far as work and all that. It's been pretty much the same. Work is good, and it didn't affect me in any way with my working situation. I know a lot of people have been affected with financially because of their jobs. A lot of people lost jobs, but I've been working, since COVID started. I've been working, nonstop, and it, man. I was in school and working, and it didn't slow down for me. If anything, we got busier during COVID. Crazy.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the one
So
thing I was gonna say. Like, you inspired me a lot. Like, even when we're in school, like, always seeing you like going to work every day, every day. I like to work and I like to work, but like seeing you coming to class, going to work, and like everything like that. And you mentioned about the mask. Like, we work in engines, but we wear mask every single day now. That has
mm,
become like part of our lives, you know.
yeah, yeah. Well, thanks, man. It's an honor. I'm glad I was able to inspire you.
Yeah, yeah, I really like that.
It's funny because me and my wife sometimes we when we go on walks or whatever, we're sitting down. And I remember the that one day, I don't know if you remember this day that you came over to our house and you came and you chatted with us for a few, like it was like 30 minutes up to an hour. I believe
Hmm.
you were there in our apartment. And it was like late at night, or it was during the evening.
Yeah.
And you had mentioned like, yo, like, and this is when I was living at Great Lakes, and the family I was, and you were like, dude, like, this is my dream home. And I never mentioned it to you, but after you left, I told my wife, like, wow, like this is his dream home. And sometimes I'll tell my wife, like, man, we need a new couch, or we need, you know what I mean? I always try to add something new into our home to make it more nicer. And then you came, and it was very humbling for me and my wife, actually, more for me because I like to have nice stuff.
Hmm.
And when you said it was like, your dream home, I'm like, wow, like, we really have nice things, and sometimes we oversee it.
All right.
And when you said that, I was like, wow, like that's his dream home. Like this ain't even my dream home yet, But you
Yeah.
come from a whole different country, so that's where I understood where you coming, where you were coming from, like
Hmm.
And so, but yeah, that was very humbling, and I remember that day, and it was a blessing for me.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
crazy because when I got a new job, I was telling my wife, yeah, we need I like having good things and like having a nice house and doing different things. But yeah, I get challenged by different people and I copy good things from people.
yeah,
Yeah, so I appreciate you for that. Now, the other day I was on Facebook, I was watching Facebook and I saw you went live and you were
I
telling a
did.
story. I jumped in and I was listening to it. It touched my heart, and I was like, well, I need to host you on my podcast to kind of just talk about that situation because not many people have gone through it, and you've gone through it, and you help people to understand it better. I know
Uh-huh.
you were talking about getting coronavirus. Can you talk to us about it and like how you got it?
Yeah, I can. Well, on how I got it, it's very hard to tell where I got it from. But one thing I can tell you is that, well, with this whole job situation, after graduation, I've always told my wife, like, I want to work with youth, and I think it's important to mention this because it's, one of the other locations where I spend most of my time. And I told my wife, I'd like to get another job. I'd like to work with the youth. I think, I'm a believer. I'm a man of faith. And I told her, I believe God wants me to move up, and do more. Like I'm graduating from college. I still want to expand my education, but I feel like, God has something for me, and he wants to move me up, but there's some things that I need to change about myself.
Mhm.
And so I told her that. And then within a week, I think, hold on, let me go back. And during my whole 2 years and a half at JLCC, the college, I had told my wife, I want to work at a youth detention center. And I was specific because when I was 12 years old, this is, going back, I think it's important to highlight all this stuff, Bonnie, because when I was 12 years old, uh, I committed a crime with my brother, and we got locked up together at the youth detention center in Lansing. And I was there for like maybe 4 months, 4 months and a half. Then they let me out because the place was getting crowded with a lot of delinquent juveniles. And they let me and my brother out because we were behaving and doing good and all that. And so they let us out. And when they let us, well, I want to mention this too. So there's so much to the story. Uh, I was 12 years old when I got locked up. The following day, it was July 3rd. The following day was July 4th, and that was my birthday. So I turned 13 years old inside a youth detention center. And when I got out of that place, when I made it out of that place, uh, I told myself I would love to go when I get older. I would love to go work at the youth detention center, just because the simple fact that there's so many youth, Bonnie, that are going into the youth detention center for robbery, for shooting, for home invasion, beating up old people, all types of crimes, selling drugs, and I said to myself, I would love to go work there and be of some sort of help and guidance to these young guys and girls.
Mhm.
Well, I was 13, 12 years old following day 13. So it's been 14 years since I was there as a delinquent youth. And but during the whole time at Great Lakes Christian College, I told my wife, I'd love to go work there. I'd love to go work there. And I still hadn't graduated. I was barely starting at GLCC my first semester, but the desire of my heart had always been there since I was 13 years old.
Mhm.
And so, fast forward the story, I graduated from Great Lakes, after 3 years and a half, 2 years and a half, almost three. And I told my wife again after I graduated, I said, you know what? I have this desire of working there. And she said, well, apply, apply. And her auntie, I had mentioned to her auntie, and she said, apply, we'll pray about it. And if it's God's will for you to be there, you're gonna be there. And I'm like, okay. So then I it's funny because I have a friend that works out at Planet Fitness, and I met him there actually at Planet Fitness. And this was like years ago. And I was young. I probably met him when I was like around 16. I never knew he worked at the youth detention center, you know.
Mhm.
And so I never knew that. I was 16 years old when I met him. I'm 27 now. Um, you might want to edit that part out. Don't give people my age. Nah, I'm playing. But I was 16 years old. Fast forward the story. I'm 27 years old. I graduated from Great Lakes. I have this desire in my heart to work with the youth and try to impact their lives, influence, and be some type of guidance for them there. And COVID happened. COVID happened. Our last semester, we didn't finish at on campus. We had to go home. So I was bummed out about that. But I was like, all right, I gotta finish. I gotta finish. After I finished, graduated, there's still COVID going on. And then they opened up the gyms, like a month or so later. And I decided I had to go to the gym, back to the gym, And so I went back to the gym and I found my friend there, that is the supervisor at the youth center.
Mhm.
And I didn't know that, So one day I just walked up and I'm like, hey, Mr. B, that's you. He's like, yeah, hey, V, how's it going? I'm like, man, it's going good, man. I'm blessed. I'm healthy. I'm here. He's like, amen, man. He's like, same with me. Family's good. I'm good. There's nothing to complain about. There's other people that are in way worse situations, and we both agreed on that. He's like, so what's new with you, man? Tell me what's new. And I said, man, I just graduated from college. I'm kind of bummed out because I want to work with the youth. The church is shut down. Church is shut down for a while, and I'm like, there's I don't know how to start. And that's the hardest part, I believe. Just start doing something. Just when you want to do something and you don't know how to do it, I think you just got to do it.
Mhm.
But in this case, we had COVID, and I couldn't just do it. I needed somebody out there. I needed God to send somebody my way so that some way I could, get in and start working with the youth the way I desired. And he says, "Oh, for real?" He's like, "Where'd you graduate from?" I said, "Great Lakes Christian College." He's like, "Really?" He's like, "That's good, man." He's like, "You're a man of faith." I said, "Yes, I am." And then I mentioned to him, like, how I wanted to work with the youth, and he says, "Well, man, I'm gonna tell you one thing, man." He's like, I'm a supervisor at the youth detention center. And my eyes just opened up, like, what? Like at the youth detention center on the south side? He's like, yeah, man, I'm a supervisor there. And we're looking for a young guy, or somebody that's passionate about working with the youth and stuff like that. And I'm like, all right, I was like I'll take an application. He says, I have the applications on my card. He says, I'm gonna give one to you when you're done working out. Holler at me, and I'm gonna give you the application via and fill it out. You can put me down as reference and all that stuff, and we'll turn it in for you. I'll turn it in for you, and I'll reference you in with the director of the youth detention center. I'm like, word, man, like this is a blessing. I came home, I told my wife. My wife's like, maybe this is your opportunity. I'm like, all right. So then I filled out the application. The whole process took me like a week because I had to get reference letters.
Right.
So I had to request all the reference letters and send emails and from professors from GOCC, and they all sent them in. My boss from my job, he referenced me in, and I turned it all into him. And I said, "Hey, Mr. B, like, can we meet up at the gym? When are you gonna go there? To get your workout in, so I can come by, do my thing, and then when we're done, I'll give you the application." He's like, "Yeah, tomorrow." I'm like, "All right, 4:30. 4:30 is fine." So, well, 4 o'clock actually. I'm like, "All right, I'll be there 4 o'clock." Got out of work at 3. Came home, got ready, went to the gym, got my stuff. I gave it to him, and he's like, "I'm done working out." I was like, "Me too." He's like, "I'm about to go over here and chill in this little area and sit down for a little bit. I'm gonna order some food for me and my wife." And I said, "All right." And then I was like, when I gave him the application, I'm like, "Man, Mr. B, there's one thing I gotta tell you, man." And I was like, "I don't know if this is gonna affect my application." He's like, "What's that, V? What's that?" He calls me V,
Yeah.
And his name is Mr. Bratchet, and I call him Mr. B. And I said to him, I was like, "Man, when I was 12 years old, I got locked up at the same youth center. I turned 13 the following day. I was there for like 5 months and some change, 4 months and some change. Is that going to affect my possibilities, my chances of getting in?" He says, "Well, let me ask you this. After you got out of there, did you get in any more trouble?" I said, "No. I did a program after the youth center. I did house arrest. And the deal was if I completed all of these programs, they will clear that off my record." And he's like, "Okay, so you're good to go. As long as you have nothing on your record as an adult, you're good." I'm like, thank God. And so I went home. I was happy. I told my wife, and I was like, "Man, we're just gonna put this in God's hands." And sure enough, the director called me the following day. He's like, "Hey, man, you were referenced by Mr. B and stuff like that." And anyways, the whole thing about this is now I'm working at the youth center, right? I'm working with these young guys, these young girls, and I went from not wearing a mask at work because our crew is small to wearing a mask 8 hours a day, for 40 hours a week. And like I said, it's important for me to tell you that because I when I got COVID, I had started there. I started my training. I got my first week of training there. I did 40 hours. And then I was at my other job, my primary job at Interstate and home. So those were like my 3 main places and the gym. And sometimes I'd go out to the restaurants. I'm not gonna lie, we go to get some food or whatever. But we were always cautious. So the point is, it's very hard to tell. But I'm not saying that I got it from my new job, but there's a chance that I did get it from there. Just because we have new young guys coming in, and and then I'm not used to wearing a mask also. So, and then another important thing for me to highlight is I was using the same mask, so you can imagine all the bacteria that builds up on that mask,
Right.
So that could have been a possibility. So
Yeah.
I think I could have got it from the youth center, or I could have got it from my job, but I doubt I got it from my primary job because I've been there without masks for years. I mean, for this whole year, and I haven't got COVID. And then our crew is small.
Yeah. So how did you find out that you have COVID? Did your job require testing, or you felt weird, or like how did you know that you acquired it?
No, that's a good question. I did not get told that I had to get tested for my job. What happened was I went to work at the youth center. My primary job, I worked from Saturday to Tuesday all the way down to Saturday. I have Sunday and Monday off. So I told myself, well, since I'm going to train my other job, I should just work. They wanted me to get 5 days in for 7-Eleven's first shift to see what first shift is like. So I told myself I'd work at the youth center from 7 to 3 Sunday, Monday, and I think it was Tuesday. And so I did that. And no, actually it was Saturday. I worked Saturday 3 to 11. Then I worked Sunday 7 to 3 a.m. Then I worked Tuesday 7 to 3 a.m. And then when I got out Tuesday, that same day, I believe, or the following, it was a following day on Wednesday, I started feeling hot. And next thing you know, I started feeling like my body was aching. And I told my wife, like, and she's like, I think you have a fever. And so, we had our thermostat. So, I checked my temperature and that was at 100 degrees Fahrenheit. My body temperature was just rising. And she's like, you have a fever. There's a mild fever. She's like, lay down, want to get you some fluids, stuff like that and whatnot. Then next thing you know, my fever went all the way up to 104, 104.7 or zero point 0.8 or something like that. And that's already like not good. Like that's a high fever. And she's like, you have a very high fever and I'm kind of scared because, I don't want anything to happen to you. She's like, I wonder if you have COVID. And I'm like, I don't think I have COVID. Like let's wait till tomorrow to get tested.
Yeah.
And so I was waiting out that whole day on Wednesday. But by the time 11 o'clock, 10:30 hit, I told my wife, you know what? I don't feel good at all. I don't feel good. And she's like, we'll take this medicine and we'll see what happens. Some Tylenol and, some fever reducers or whatever. And that didn't help. I woke up the following day and I still had that fever and it wouldn't go down at all. I'd take showers. I'd drink a lot of cold water, popsicles. Nothing was helping. And she's like, should we get tested today? I'm like, no, I don't want to get tested today. Let's wait. Because this whole, everybody has made a big deal and I don't blame them, I don't blame them, where they're scared to go to the hospitals to get tested because I don't know if it's true or not, but there was like a bunch of videos that were coming out and being exposed on all social media platforms and YouTube where doctors were getting paid or hospitals were getting paid to like if somebody died, they'd put on the certificate he died from COVID-19 and then they would get paid like I don't know how much money.
I think I had about that.
Videos.
I had about it.
So this whole we were just skeptical about this whole situation and just going to the hospitals because we didn't know if I could trust a doctor or not, which is sad, because we're in America, man. You should be able to go to the doctors and trust that your doctor's going to take care of you. And so anyways, I told my wife, like, you know what, like, I don't want to go. She's like, I don't want you to go either. But then I was like, it's not getting any better because now my body is aching. I no longer have fever. Now I'm feeling sore. And let me tell you one thing, man, it's the soreness that I was feeling, the body ache that I was feeling, way different than when you're working out now. So I can imagine like you wake up some days sore from your muscles, right?
Yeah.
But it's not like severe to where you're like, oh, like, I need to go get checked because it doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel normal. This was, I like to work out too. And I know what it's like to feel sore from, working out or doing some activities. This type of soreness on my body was in my bones. Like it was in my muscles. Like I tried to massage my legs, my arms, my chest and everything. And every time I touch, it felt so sore. And then I figured, let me touch my shins, on my legs. And when I'd press on the shins of my legs, my goodness, there was a pain. It was a pain. And I'm like, okay, so now I know that my body ache is through my bones. Like that's where I'm aching at, And so I touch and I'm like, wow, like, this is bad, And I told my wife, you know what? We need to go to the hospital. We need to go get checked. Let's go tonight. It was like, I want to say almost 11 o'clock, or it was 11 o'clock when we went. And I said, let's go get checked. I want to go get checked and I want to make sure that it's not COVID. And so we went to, what's this hospital? We went to,
Sparrow?
No, we went to, it's a small clinic. It's,
Urgent care?
Urgent care. There you go. There you go. Yeah, I went to urgent care.
Yeah.
And man, they came in. They had them long swabs and they just stuck it up my nose, bro. They almost poked my brains out. That thing is like this huge, bro. Right. And they stick like this much of it in. That thing came like up to, I felt it like up to here. I'm like, holy smokes! Like, is that normal? Like, you can't just swab around the nose.
Yeah.
And so, they did my testing, and then they did my wife as well. And they came back into the room, and the doctor was like, yeah, you have COVID. And
Did you
then,
get your results right there? Like,
yes, it was the
okay.
rapid test.
Okay.
Came back in. Well, when I went in, I think their concern was also that my fever was at 104.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, that's not good. If you have a fever of 104. And so he came in and he says, yeah, you have COVID. And like I said, they tested my wife, and they told my wife, you don't have COVID, you're good.
Hmm.
And they told me, if you feel any shortness of breath, go to the emergency, and see if they can take care of you there. I'm like, what? Like, dang, like it was so cool the way he said it, man. He said it. He just came in and said, hey, yeah, you have COVID. If you feel like you're running short on your breathing, just go to the emergency and see if if they can help you there. I'm like, all right. He's like, and his first doctor, actually, I was so blessed because his first doctor, he was an older guy, and he prescribed me these medications. One of them was like a steroid for I don't know what, and then the other one was like some type of antibacteria, to help fight the bad bacteria or whatever. I'm not a doctor, so I don't know all these things, but it's like a pill that helps fight like the bad bacteria. And so he prescribed that to me, and I'm like, all right, thank you. And then he left the room like quick, like he just left. And then this other doctor came in, this younger guy, and he says, yeah, you have COVID. And I'm like, okay, I know I have COVID. And then he's like, I'm gonna give you your discharge papers, and you can go home. And I'm like, all right. And then I'm like, well, am I gonna get my prescription pills? Because at that point he left, and then he came back and he gave me my discharge papers from from urgent care. And I looked through them and I didn't see like any prescription,
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, well, am I gonna get any prescriptions, like anything to help my fever or? He's like, no, there's nothing we can do for you. We don't. When people are diagnosed here with COVID, we just tell them they have COVID, and we tell them to go back home, stay home, and self quarantine, and let their body do its thing and fight it off. And I'm like, all right, like that's fine, So I left, bro. I left, and I'm like, that's weird that they didn't give me anything, And I get it. I guess no doctors are prescribing. I don't know in other states or whatever, but here they're not giving any type of medication if you have COVID,
Mm-hmm.
But it was a blessing from the first doctor because when I got out the following day, I received a text message and it said your prescription is ready. And I'm like, my prescription? They told me I wasn't getting no prescription. So then I'm like, you know what? Let's call. My wife called, and they're like, yeah, we have this prescription and this prescription. And
At the same place where you took your test?
yeah, they're the first doctor that came in. Remember, I told you the first doctor. There was two doctors. The first one came in. I believe the second one was like an assistant doctor, or something like that. And so we went. We picked up these medications, and we came home, and I was taking the medications. And it helped a little bit. It did help. It helped me feel better the first day that I took them, the second day, and then the following day, the third day. But then another problem started happening. I couldn't. I knew my breathing wasn't normal, because I felt like if I'm sitting down right now in my dining room. If I get up and if I walk to like my bedroom or the bathroom, which is not far away from here, maybe like 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe like 15, 16, maybe 20 steps, to get to the bathroom. I noticed that I was like, like my breathing just I started it almost felt like I went for like a little jog, and I'm over here breathing like hard. And it's like on normal days when I just walk there, I'm fine. I'm not breathing heavy. My breathing doesn't feel out of not normal. And so I noticed that, and I'm like, what the heck? Like, I just walked from the kitchen or from the living room to the bathroom, and I'm already feeling like like I did a little jog or something, And I didn't tell my wife. I just came back and I sat down on the couch. And then when I sat on the couch, I was like breathing, you know, to my wife, like, I feel weird, like my breathing. And she's like, I'm not liking this. She's like, she says, give me your debit card. I'm gonna go to the store and I'm gonna buy this little device. And this device, I don't know what it's called, but it's like you put it on your finger
Mm-hmm.
and it measures your oxygen, you know. She came, she gave me the device, she put it on my finger, and my oxygen levels were like around the first time I think it was like 94, and then it dropped to 93. But then when I'd get up and go like to the kitchen or the bathroom or the bedroom, uh, it would drop to like 80, 85, 83. And if I would go down the stairs, you know, it would drop to like 80 again, you know. And then if I sat down for a good 30 minutes, 40 minutes at the most, it'd go back to like 93, which is on for a normal person that has no health issues. That's still, I think, in my opinion, is still low. I'm no doctor by any means, but I think it's low because on a normal day, like if I were to check it right now, it's like 97, 98, almost 100,
Mm-hmm.
you know, high 90s. In this case, it was low 90s, you know, 90, 93, 92, 91, 90. And so I remember that same day, my wife put the device back on and I was at 83, 83 or 85. And she's like, no, your oxygen levels are very, very low. She called one of her aunties in Florida and she asked her, like, what are the oxygen levels supposed to be at? And she said, like, high 90s, you know, 97, 98. And she told her, well, Vinny's oxygen levels are like at 80, 85, 84, 83s. And she's like, oh, like he needs oxygen. You know, like you need to take him to the ER and see if they can give him some oxygen or something, you know. And my wife got scared because she didn't want it. She didn't want me to go to the hospital and not ever see me again, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And it gets very critical and very, I think for her, it got very emotional when she knew, like, okay, now I have COVID, you know, I have high fevers, my body is aching, and now my breathing is, you know, messing with me. And so now she's like, I'm scared. And she like got sad and she started crying even on our way there because she, you know, felt like if I take my husband there, this might be the last time I see him, you know. And with everything that we have been seeing on the news and social media and YouTube, you know, with these, you know, with people going in because now they're having breathing problems and they don't make it out.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look on the news or even if you Googled how many people have died of COVID 19, you'll see that the number are in millions,
Mm-hmm.
you know, millions and millions of people have died of COVID. And the main reason is because of their breathing. And my wife was sad. And I got scared a little bit, just a little bit. And I'm like, man, like, I don't want to go to the hospital either, but if my breathing levels are not where they're supposed to be, and if I need oxygen, I need to go to the ER. Like, you know, I gotta take a chance, you know. And so, man, that same night we went to Sparrow, and I don't ever bash any company, and then you know because that's not my thing. But I gotta say, man, that when we went to Sparrow, she wasn't allowed to go in with me. But when we got there, we went into the ER parking lot, and we were like maybe I don't know how far. We were a little ways parked because it was full of cars, so we were a little ways from the door to enter the hospital, the ER. And I got out of the car and I started walking and I started walking, and I wasn't walking fast. I was like one step at a time, you know. And the next thing you know, that's where it hit me, bro. That's where it hit me, and I'm like, and I had to stop. I had to stop walking. I had to hold on to a pole, and I'm like, man, like my wife was in the car, getting out, locking it, getting all the stuff, you know, that she needed, my wallet and everything. And she came to me. She's like, "What's wrong?" I said, "I babe, I cannot breathe. Like, this is as far as I can walk. I'm out of breath, you know, and I shouldn't be out of breath. you know, because at that point I hadn't walked that far. And she's like, I'm gonna go get a wheelchair. Don't walk, stay here. But you know, me being, you know, I guess the manhood, and you know, it's like, nah, I gotta make it to that door. Like in my head, I'm telling myself, like, you don't have breathing problems, you know, because by faith I want to believe it. And so I'm like, nah, I don't have no breathing problems. I don't have no breathing problems. And then I started walking, and I finally made it to the door. And my wife was finally coming out. You know, at that point when I got to the door, she was coming out with a wheelchair, and I'm like, you know, and I sat down on the chair. My wife's like, "Are you okay?" Like, I'm like, "I can't breathe. I can't breathe." And I was like, "I can't even talk. Like, I like I don't want to say nothing no more. Like, I can't breathe." And she went in there. You know, the security checked us. They cleared us off, and they said we can go in. And they told my wife, "You can't go in." And my wife's like, "Okay, but my husband, he needs oxygen. He's been diagnosed with COVID, and he's struggling to breathe." And so the experience there, man, was horrible, because once they got me in, they took all my information, and I told them I had COVID, and I told the lady that was in the front desk, I said, I need oxygen. I can't breathe. My oxygen levels are like in low 80s. And she's like, okay, take a seat. And I'm like, take a seat? Like, man, you're gonna put me over here with all these people? I just told you I had COVID. Like, you know, and so I'm like, all right. So I go out there and I sit down. And then the nurse finally came and she called me, you know, they checked my vitals, and she put the sensor on my finger, and it read my oxygen levels were low. I was so dehydrated. My mouth was like super dry, cotton dry. And it was horrible. You know, it was horrible. I like right now I can swallow my own saliva. I was so dehydrated to the point that I couldn't even swallow anything, you know, and that was a horrible feeling because it was so dry here, you know. And I'm over here sweating because my fever is like 103. And then they put me in a small room, and they're like, okay, when one of the rooms is cleared off, we're gonna come and get you. And I'm like, okay, but am I gonna get oxygen? I can't breathe. Like, I'm struggling to breathe. And they just left me in the room, bro. They left me in the room. They left. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna wait patiently here. And then next thing you know, 15 minutes. Well, at that point, even 5 minutes seemed so long, bro. 5 minutes seemed like a whole entire hour. And then 15 minutes went by, and then I'm like, that just doesn't come. I'm thirsty. And then 30 minutes go by, and then I'm like, man, like, you know, at that point, I'm already like trying to get up, and I'm trying to twist and try to do all types of things to see if I can get a little bit of oxygen. And then an hour goes by, and they still hadn't come and get me. They still hadn't brought me oxygen. Then an hour and a half went by, and at that point, I went and I'm like, hey, like, I'm so dehydrated. I need some water. Can I get some water? No, go back into your room. You can't have anything until your doctor comes, or the doctor comes and checks you or whatever. And I'm like, okay, I get it. Like, you know, as a procedure, if there's rules and that's the rule, okay, I get it. Fine. I went back and I sat down. And then another 5 minutes went by. I couldn't hold it no more. I couldn't help it no more. I was hot. I was high in fever. I was thirsty. And I had my body was aching, and I went out there and I said, hey, I was not, you know, very polite to the lady. I'm like, hey, do you know how much longer it's gonna be for one of the rooms to be available, and for me to get some oxygen and some water because I'm thirsty? And she's like, I don't know. We're super busy. The room's gonna clear off when it clears off, and we'll come get you when we're ready. And I'm like rude, bro, super rude. And I'm like, all right. So I went to the room and I called my wife. I'm like, yo, like, the doctor, she told me she doesn't know how much longer it's gonna be. I feel dehydrated. I'm super hot, and I can't, you know, I can't breathe right. She's like, you know what? Just walk out of that place. And I'm like, I've never walked out of a hospital before. At that point, it feels like I'm committing a crime, bro. Because I walked up, and then I was in a room next to where the lady was sitting at her desk, and I opened the door and I looked, you know, side to side. I see a security guard, and I'm like, oh. So then I just walked out, and she sees me, and she's like, oh, where are you going? I said, I need to go get some air. I gotta go. And she's like, you can't leave. And I'm like, I'm out of here. Like, bro, like, if I couldn't breathe and if I couldn't walk, and you know, at that point, I got oxygen, I got strength in my legs to walk. I bounced out of that hospital, bro. My wife, she pulled up to the door, picked me up in the car. She's like, they're taking too long. like this is not right. Like that treatment is not good, So she took me to McLaren. As soon as she took me to McLaren, bro, we walked in. I told them, hey, I have COVID. I can't breathe. My oxygen levels are low. I'm high in fever. My body is aching. I feel dehydrated. I'm thirsty. They're like, okay, you know what? Come on in. They put me in a room. We're going to get a doctor. We're going to check your vitals. And then after that, we're going to wait for a room to clear off. And we're going to take you to a room as soon as possible. They took proper care of me. They took action immediately. They didn't hesitate to put oxygen on me. They put me in a room by myself. They put the oxygen tubes on me, through my nose. They brought me ice packs. They brought me, they put me on IV. You know what IV is, right? When you're super dehydrated, they put the thing in here.
Right.
I went through I think I want to say 6 bags of IV, bro. That's how dehydrated I was. I think 6 or 7 bags of IV. And then after that, the doctors came in and they checked me. How are you feeling, Mr. Vasquez? We're gonna check your temperature. We're gonna check all your vitals. We gotta get some blood work, and we'll take you from here. And then they came back and they're like, okay, your blood work and everything looks good. How are you feeling? Like, what symptoms are you feeling? I said, I am struggling to breathe. I feel super dehydrated. The same thing over and over again. And they're like, okay, well, they left, then they came back, and then they're like, okay, Mr. Vasquez, how's your breathing now after an hour or so of being on oxygen? I'm like, it's getting a little bit better, but I still don't feel good, So then they're like, okay, we're gonna put this device on your finger. You're gonna. It's the same device my wife bought, but this one was like a scanner. It was looked like a scanner for cars. And they put it on. They put it on my hand, and I had to look at it. And that thing marked my oxygen and everything. And so they're like, okay, we're gonna have you walk around the room, and we want to see your breathing levels. And I walked around the room, and I'm like, I don't want to stay in this hospital, so I'm trying to hold my breath in while I'm walking, so that it won't I don't know what I was thinking. I thought it wouldn't drop, but I'm walking around the room, and I'm already feeling like I'm out of breath, but I'm trying to hold it in, as much as I can. And my thing went from, it was because I was laying down the whole time, it was at 93. When I walked around for not even 30 seconds, it went down to 83 again. And they looked at it and said, okay, we're going to talk to the doctor because there's a high chance that you might not be going home tonight. And I'm like, Jesus, this is all I needed. I don't want to stay here. And I told my wife, and she got scared. She got teary-eyed. And so she called my parents, and she was crying, and she was telling them what I was going through. And the doctor came. He's like, yeah, Mr. Vasquez, you're not going home. We can't tell you how long you're going to be here, but we're going to keep you here until we know you're good to go home. And I'm like, all right. I'm just going to trust in God that everything's going to play out the way that it's supposed to play out. I'm going to trust in God that I'm going to get healed, and then I'm going to get my oxygen back, but, at that point, I'm also I wasn't scared. I really wasn't scared. It was more so wow, just the simple things that life has to offer. The air we breathe, the sun that we get when it comes out, just the norm, the things that don't cost any money that we can oversee, bro. Some just like oxygen. I had never thought that I would be trying to, fight to get oxygen, and so it just made me appreciate life more, and it made me realize, so many people are dying from not being able to breathe, from COVID. Their lungs start to, collapse, and my chest felt like somebody was pressing on it. It felt like somebody was pressing on my chest, and it just felt weird, bro. And I was like, my God, I'm sorry for taking my, the air, the oxygen that we breathe for granted. I was like, but please give me my oxygen back.
That's crazy, man. I was listening to you, so I didn't even want to interrupt you. I wanted you to say all the things, and that's why you answered even almost all the questions that I had on here. And the thing I wanted to ask you, how did you think of COVID before you got COVID? What did you believe of it?
Before I had COVID, man, I thought this is a government. I'm all into the conspiracy stuff. I'm on to like the conspiracies, and I like. It's not that I believe all the conspiracies, but it's like I like to hear the other side of it. And all the conspiracies that have came out about COVID, are numerous of them, and they're all out there on all platforms, and uh, it came from China, it came from the government, from the U.S., and they went and gave it to China, and then stuff like that, and then they brought it over here, and I started hearing all these conspiracies. I'm like, man, COVID is just a man-made thing. It's meant to control population and whatnot, And I told my wife, man, it's probably like a regular flu. Every time you turn on the news, it seemed like the numbers were just rising, skyrocketing. And I'm like, man, people are dying on a daily basis. Like, like they just decide to put out there, oh, people are dying from, but how many people died from the flu or, other cancer or, and they don't put it on the news or,
Right.
And I'm like, guys, it's just another form of the flu, it's all good or whatever. And but yeah, I felt like before I felt like, the government made it, they're the ones causing this chaos. And I was like, if COVID really existed, like we'd have it by now. It's been so long and we still don't get it, and it is what it is, But it wasn't until I actually got it, that I realized, oh, it's not like the flu, because I've had the flu before once in my whole entire life. And I'm like, it's not like the flu. It's very different, because the pain that it causes in your body, in your bones, the pain that the fevers, that are nonstop. Like I had fevers every day. It wouldn't go down. What else was? Oh, I lost my sense of smell, my sense of taste, for like 4 or 5 days. You lose your appetite because at that point you can't taste and you can't even smell what you're eating. It's like you're just eating, like, I don't know, you can't even taste. So it's like at that point you might as well not even eat. And let me tell you one thing. When I lost my sense of taste and my sense of smell, I couldn't taste anything. But the only thing that I could taste was, so if I ate like a soup or something, I can taste the salt. That's all I can taste, salt. If I ate a Hershey bar, all I could taste was the sugar, like the sweetness of it, but I couldn't taste the actual chocolate. And so that was horrible. But after I got COVID, what I think of it is it's very real. We have to be very cautious. I've always been cautious going out, but now I'm more cautious than ever. It's very important to take proper measurements to make sure that, when you go out, you are secured in with your mask. Make sure you wash your hands, and stuff like that. And it just made me realize how real this COVID situation is, and how it can change your life, the blink of an eyebrow, because that's really how it happened with me. I was fine one day, I woke up the next day, and blah, I'm over here all sick, and but yeah, bro, it did change my point of view on it. And so yeah,
So what do you think about the vaccine?
There's so many uncertainties with it. There's so many. I want to say, like, when it first came out, there was like so many issues. People that were getting it, they were fainting, and then the following day after getting the shot, they were in high fevers and they were sick. And it's like, what the, like, I'm not gonna go get this shot if it's causing all of this. I'm just gonna wave it out, and I'm gonna just wait. I'm gonna chill in my home. I'm gonna go to work. I'm gonna come back home. You know what I mean? Wear my mask, get a little hand sanitizer going, and you know what I mean, bro. I'm just gonna do that. Pick a little bit of people that I want to be around with, and that's about it.
Yeah.
And but no, I don't. I haven't done any research on it, so I couldn't tell you, what the effects are, what they aren't. I couldn't tell you if the shot is effective, but from what I've seen, in the news, and it hasn't done anything good. I don't know about now. This was when it first came out, where doctors and nurses were getting it, and then they would pass out, and I'm like, man,
I have not done any research about it, so I don't know. I can't say much about it, but like you said, it's gonna be a while till we get it because they're taking care
Yeah.
of the seniors. But so how do you feel now? Do you feel strong and you have your strength back?
Yeah, it took me like a week to regain all my strength, my energy. Uh, After all the fevers, once I stopped getting fevers, once my body stopped aching, and once I had completed like my quarantine because it was like a total of 10 days that you're supposed to quarantine, and that's when it's supposed to be gone.
Mm-hmm.
It took me like almost 15 days, 16 at the most, and then now it's like this last week I've recovered all my strength.
Mm-hmm.
I was sore, completely sore from my body. Um, and so now I'm feeling very, very good. My wife is feeling good. We no longer have COVID, thank
Right.
God. And so now, yeah, we're back to normal. We're back to our routine, trying to get back to it.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, that's pretty much that on how we're
That's it.
feeling. We're feeling great, feeling great.
That's exciting, and I'm happy for you. And when I
Yeah,
had your story the first time, I mean, you talked about it, and you didn't give so much details as you've given now, because right now it's what we're focusing about. But it gives me so much awareness. I mean, I've had some other friends that got COVID, but they didn't get the COVID pneumonia like you went through.
yeah,
Yeah, that's cool to know, and like I'm glad I got to host you on this podcast to just educate more people out there that have not got these the virus, and just people be cautious, wear your mask when you have to,
yes.
whenever you're in public. And I'm so happy and thankful to God that He saved your life and you're still alive. But one last question I gotta ask you, ask everybody I host on this podcast, is what gets you excited about life?
What gets me excited about life is not knowing what might happen tomorrow.
Yeah.
After COVID, a lot of things used to excite me. New job, new clothes, new shoes, new jewelry, new hats, you know, uh, new cars, just going on a road trip,
Hmm.
taking a vacation. Uh, Things that, in a sense, cost money, and now what excites me about life is the uncertainty of it, not knowing what might happen tomorrow
Hmm.
because, you know, it's just, you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. It's
Right.
something good, it could be something bad, and that's going to cause, for some type of emotions to be stirred up in there, and so that's what excites me about life, not knowing
Mhm.
what's going to happen tomorrow, for
Nice.
sure.
So yeah, Vinny, I thank you very much for saving your time and talk to us about that. I'm so excited that I finally got to host you on my podcast. And
Yeah.
to our listeners, I've always promised you that I'm gonna support and promote small businesses, and this is the time where I'm gonna promote two small businesses. There's one business called Secretsbynor. It's on
Okay.
Instagram, and you can find them on Instagram. The username is Secretsbynor. They're located in Kampala, Uganda. It's an online store, and they sell clothing and every kind of thing, shoes that you need to dress. And the second business is called Melanin Graphical Design Uganda. They do
Hmm.
interior and exterior modified designs and landscaping. And their
Oh wow.
telephone number is plus 256 700 653 211, and they're also located in Kampala, Uganda. So if you need interior and exterior in your house, just hit them up and give them some business. Like I've always told you, the motto of my podcast is we rise by lifting each other up. And I also want to remind
Right.
you that I still have those merchandise like the t-shirts with the Ugandan Boy Talk Show. Make sure you
Hey.
support me, buy a hoodie or buy a t-shirt. And thank you very much. So Vinny, is there any last thing you want to say before we end this podcast?
Yeah, I do. I think that there's another podcast pending between you and I.
Yeah. We had actually to do that one first before
Yeah,
this
we're
one.
supposed to do that one first, So there's another one coming out, and I'm,
Yeah.
I'm gonna give that to you,
Mhm.
Um, and I don't know what's that gonna be like, the grind, the hustle. I don't know what you want to call it,
Yeah.
because I was a barber, I'm a worker, I'm a
Uh-huh.
student,
Uh-huh.
So there's another one pending. To be, I'm ready for that one whenever you are.
Okay.
Um, and then man, I just want to say, be blessed to where, everybody that listens to this podcast or watches it on YouTube. Be blessed, stay humble, always strive to be better than you were yesterday. And be anxious for nothing, because life is not guaranteed, and if there's anything that you need, want, or whatever, just, or, not necessarily materialistic things or money, but, anything that has to do with health or, you know, just life in general, struggles, bring them before God, man. If you believe in God, if you're a woman or a man of faith, bring it before God and make your request known to Him, and He'll find a way to, help you.
Okay, preacher.
Yeah, man, yeah, for sure. But yeah, that's pretty much it, man. Value life, appreciate it, and be aware that COVID is a real thing, and make sure that you wear all type of wear your mask, wash your hands, get that sanitizer bottle, keep it in your car, sanitize your steering wheel, your dashboard, your handles at least once a week. Take your car for a wash, and that's it, man. That's pretty much it. Thank you for having me on your show, bro, and I look forward to the following one. But hey, I'm gonna start my podcast on my YouTube channel, and then you're gonna have to be on it too.
Okay, yeah, I will.
All right, man.
Hey there, I am Bunny Kibuka, the host of the Ugandan Boy Talk Show. Thanks for watching my video, and don't forget to hit subscribe and share with a friend. Tune in every Saturday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time for a new episode about my podcast. And for more information about this podcast, follow me on my Instagram page, talk_show_256.